What's up everybody, we got the 10x on Jagg Bonesaw, the new orc champion, and we are currently on the test server to take this bad boy for a spin, see if he is actually worth it. And of course, if you are pulling this champion by any chance, what can you do with him? So, you see, he's an attack based champion, spirit affinity. Now he does have a pretty interesting kit, fairly decent multipliers, which I'm gonna grab on the screen for you guys right here so you can see them. So basically, with his A1, he has a 3.7 multipliers. On the A2, he has a 3-point multiplier, and then of course, it gets multiplied with every debuff spread transferred. And then on the A3, we have a 4-point multiplier. Now it doesn't show it how it's getting multiplied with the damage, but it does say right here, increases the damage by 5% for each buff removed. So let's just say you remove 20 buffs, your damage should be increased by 100%. With the A1, Razor Wheel attacks one enemy, steals 10% of the target's turn meter, has a 25% chance of repeating this skill. So that's great, you're gonna have an extra chance to steal the turn meter, deal a bit of damage. With the A2, Shred the Flash, on a 3-turn cooldown fully booked, attacks one enemy 2 times. Before attacking, transfers all debuffs from this champion to the target. Damage from the first hit increases by 10% for each debuff transferred. Then applies the debuff spread effect, taking 2 random debuffs from the target and placing them on all enemies. Damage from the second hit increases by 5% for each debuff transferred and each debuff applied to the debuff spread effect. Then the A3, Lacerating Tempest, on a 4-turn cooldown fully booked, attacks all enemies. Before attacking, removes all buffs from all enemies. Damage increases by 5% for each buff removed. Fills this champion's turn meter by 15% for each enemy killed by this skill. And then we have the passive. At the start of this champion's turn, places a 50% increased accuracy and a 30% increased crit damage buff on them for 1 turn. At the end of this champion's turn, places a 30% decreased crit rate debuff and a 25% decreased crit damage debuff on the enemy with the highest crit damage for 1 turn. So all sounds nice. Now let me just put it in the next way. We're gonna take the champion for a spin and test the damage. We're gonna test him in arena. We're gonna test him in Hydra and see how he plays out in there. And then I'm gonna give you pros and cons for each one of these areas. And let me just start by saying that this champion is late in Raid Shadow Legends with probably around 2 years because of everything that he has in the kit. But first, let's quickly go over his build stats. So his base stats are fairly decent. 15k HP, 1.5k attack, 1k defense, 100 speed, basic crit damage for a nuker, 30 resistance and 10 accuracy. And we have him built on a perception set, and of course we have him on a lethal, so savage basically. And I haven't went all in to give him the craziest stats on the account, guys, because I want you guys to see how he performs with these sort of stats. And they are pretty good stats. 5.7k attack, 250 crit damage for a non-empowered and non-awakened champion. I feel like it's definitely fairly good for the majority of people. So total stats on him, we have 5.6k attack, almost 5.7, 215 speed, full crit rate, 253 crit damage, 270 accuracy. Now we're gonna get an increased accuracy buff, so we're gonna have a total of 400 accuracy more or less. Then I do want to mention that every single skill will require accuracy. The A1 will require accuracy for turn meter, the A2 will require accuracy to spread the debuffs, the A3 will require accuracy to strip the buffs, and the passive will require accuracy to land the decreased crit rate and decreased crit damage on the enemy. Now I like that. That's definitely a good touch, especially if you're going against some nukers and stuff in arena. Is an interesting thing. Let me quickly show you the masteries on the champion as well. So basically, this is what we have on him. Offense and support. We have kind of like typical masteries for a nuker. Helm Smasher as tier 6. I went with support instead of defense just to try and get some extra accuracy, you know. All this will help me with what I need to do basically. So these are the masteries on the champion. We talked about the skills. And I'm gonna show you the very first build. We're gonna test the damage, the rest of the things, and then I'm gonna show you a different build. And that's why I feel like this champion was late to the game, with probably around 2 years, but I'm gonna show you that in a minute. Right, so we're gonna take Ramanto to apply debuffs on one target. He's gonna spread the debuffs to the rest, allowing him to deal more damage with the A2. So we're just quickly gonna have a look at all that. And he should be doing some serious damage, right? Like, we're gonna check the skill when we're doing it. You see, we landed 4 debuffs. So before attacking, transfers all debuffs. We have no debuffs on him. Damage from the first hit increases for each debuff transferred, which is not the case. But then we have a debuff spread effect, taking 2 random debuffs. And damage from the second hit increases by 5% for each debuff transferred. Now, I don't think it will apply for each debuff transfer to each one of the enemies. So let's just say we spread 2 debuffs to 4 more enemies, making it a total of 8 debuffs. I don't think that's the way the multipliers are getting counted. I think it's just spread 2 debuffs, basically. So the damage gets increased by 10%. At least that's what I think, because it doesn't feel like it's very strong. So let's check the animations as well. The design is awesome, though. So that's the animation. Pretty cool, right? And we spreaded the debuffs. The damage was fairly decent, 100k plus per hit. And we do have quite a few debuffs on the enemies now. Then if we're gonna go in for another spin, then I'm gonna back out of here and come in with the AoE attack to kind of like get a bit of a feeling what's happening when we have defense down on everybody from the start. But this is the animation for the A3, sorry, not the A2, if I said that. And the damage is 117k. It feels pretty underwhelming for a 4-point multiplier. Now, if we were gonna strip buffs from the enemy, that was gonna be a bit different. But still, I feel like the damage is very underwhelming, considering that we had defense down and weaken. And we have a pretty good build on him, right? Savage and Perception. So it's not too bad. Let's back out. But I do want to bring in Venus for defense down and weaken directly. So let's crack on it with her like this. We're gonna open with the A3. And if we kill somebody, we're gonna gain Thermitter. So this is stage 23, guys. I'm always bringing the damage dealers in here. I like that he buffs himself with increased accuracy and increased crit damage. Now imagine if Madame Series, for example, was doing this, buffing herself with accuracy at the start of her turn when the resistance meta was a thing in the game 2 years ago. That's why he's late to the party, because there is no resistance meta. There is Stone Skin and Polymorph meta. So having a skill like this is not great for PvP, but for PvE, where a lot of you guys might be struggling, I think it's gonna be great. You know, maybe Doom Tower waves and stuff. So it's interesting, but definitely not a champion that I would be very excited to pull, you know, let me just put it like that. You've seen the damage, we haven't one-shot anyone. So just starting on it like this is fairly decent. It's not too bad, you know. How you may notice, we are on floor 91, Doom Tower hard mode. A lot of these champions will actually buff. So I want to show you his A3 in action with the build that we have on, right? Which is going to be good. Like, he can help a lot of you guys in the Doom Tower. If you are struggling with the accuracy on your champions and you're not able to get 300 plus accuracy to debuff the waves in the Doom Tower, this champion can come in with an increased accuracy buff on himself and do it. But is that enough? So look at all the buffs that we have on. We have increased attack, we have increased crit damage. So this damage increases by 5% for each buff removed. We have 4 buffs on pretty much everyone right here, except one. So this is a total of 19 buffs on the enemy, guys, okay? 19 buffs. So we should be dealing a lot of damage when we're stripping this. But check this out. Okay, so the damage is very underwhelming, 65k. Fairly decent, you would say, if you compare it with a different nuker. Thinking about it, I can't say that the damage is bad when you strip so many buffs. But it's very unlikely for it to happen in most of the content. You're gonna see in Hydra exactly what I'm talking about, okay? For example, if I bring him back on the exact same wave with an Arbiter, where I need, where I'm gonna go without actually stripping any buffs, you know? Let's see how that will play out. I would expect the damage to drop quite a bit, right? So let's actually just gain more turn meter, allowing me to go first. So we're going to use the A3 without stripping any buffs. So we're not going to get an increase in damage, okay? And we have 29k, 32k. So the damage dropped quite a bit. And it's not very likely to have a team from where you can strip so many buffs. Unless it's some very niche PvE content, you know? And I don't know if you're happy with that. You think that's enough for the majority of you guys out there. I'm actually going to bring in a Venus this time around. And I'm going to put defense down and weaken on the opponent before they get to buff with all those crazy things on, you know. Valkyrie, she's still going to do it, but that's fine. Let's just do this. Okay, so we have defense down or weaken on most of them. Seems like we got resisted on quite a few of them. Funny enough, because I have like 500 accuracy on her. But that's fine. And now, once they're going to buff, I'm going to be able to strip a lot of buffs. And they still have quite a few debuffs on. So at least we have weaken, we have defense down on some of them. Let's just check the damage again. We do have increased attack, increased crit damage, so that's helpful. Okay, so the damage looked a bit better. 100k, 130k on that War Mother because we had defense down and weaken. On Countess Leaks as well. So it's actually decent if you can strip so many buffs. It's definitely not a bad thing. Now, if this was a thing 2 years ago, man, this champion would have been the meta 2 years ago, you know? So we are on Hydra, guys. I'm gonna go on hard just to show you how he will be played in there. And mainly because if I go on higher difficulty, it's gonna be a bit unfair to see his damage. I haven't changed the build on him, and I will tell you what's the main issue in here. The main issue is the Head of Mischief and him. He's gonna put 2 buffs on himself and will really make it so difficult for you to play him around unless you make him the mischief target and you lose different stats like attack, you lose accuracy, etc. and give him resistance instead. You can do that without a problem, and he's gonna be a great mischief target because of that passive. Probably will be one of the best mischief targets in the entire game because of it. Because he will get that every time he takes a turn. So he's absolutely amazing. Now, first, let me show you how it works when we spread debuffs. So we're quickly gonna go over just so you guys can see the damage. That's the main thing. So we're gonna put that right there. So we have 4 debuffs on them. Kymar doesn't need to do anything. We can provoke. And right now we're gonna use the A2. So there we go. Hydra, 1 hit. 110k, second hit, 127. We spread the debuff. So we have block buffs on everyone. Was good. The Head of Mischief targeted him because that's what was happening. And what I can do now is to go back in and let them steal my buffs. Let them do whatever they want. And like this, we're basically gonna strip the buffs with his A3 and deal damage. Now my main issue right here is gonna be to put that defense down, which is so freaking hard to do it. But I'm gonna do my best. I don't promise that I'm gonna be able to land the defense down and weaken, but you know what? We're gonna try. So let's just go in like this. Okay. Stole all my buffs. Look at that. 6 buffs. Juicy. So the Head of Mischief will spread all those buffs to the enemy. And right now I'm gonna do this probably. Just put defense down and weaken there. Reset the skills. And I do hope the Head of Mischief will take its turn before. Okay, no, so I'm gonna go with the A1. I don't wanna spread. Actually, I'm gonna hit the Head of Torment to spread the defense down. Okay, so we spread that defense down. Nice. So we have defense down. I have no weaken, but we're trying here. We're trying here to make it work. Okay, so let's just see. Spread those buffs. Come on, Head of Mischief. Okay, so look at all the buffs that we have on. We want to see the damage on the Head of Torment because that one has defense down. The rest don't have it. If we're finally taking our turn, hopefully, before he takes a turn. Okay, there we go. There we go. So we're gonna strip a lot of buffs, guys. Check this out. Defense down. 93k hit, man. You see? This is my main thing here. Like, we stripped 2 million buffs, and the damage is so underwhelming for a build like this. I can bring in a Magnar. I can bring in a Skull Crown. I can bring in any other nuker, and will deal pretty much the same sort of damage with defense down with this build. Now, if we're gonna take him in for a spin in Arena, guys, just to test him out, see what sort of damage he can do, and we have a pretty good example with this team right here, 600k power. So let's see, can we actually wreck this guy or no? I do need to bring in an accurate just to ensure that we are protecting my champion, and let's see what damage we are doing with him. I don't want him to die, so it's mainly just to check his damage, you know. Look at all those buffs. It's gonna be paradise. Paradise for his A3. Now the problem is, are we gonna strip the stone skin from 2 champions or no? So let's see. We're gonna try our luck. And we stripped it from 1. We got 50k on Leorius, a nuker. 50k damage on a champion that has no defense and no HP, man. Not excited about that for Arena. Like, the damage for Arena feels really underwhelming, and it does feel like this for most of the champions in the game at the moment, because they don't ignore defense themselves from their kit, so it's not that great. 59, 69k on that Mountain King. Again, Mountain King is very weak as a champion. He doesn't have a very high defense, so it's much easier to rack them compared to an Accurate, for example, who might have more defense. So let's see. Okay, 38, but we got extra turn. So we basically repeated the hit 3 times with the A1, and that was nice. That's nice when it happens. So you could potentially do it 5 to 10 times in a go if you're getting lucky enough to hit that RNG on the A1, which is good, you know. Let's move over to faster speed here, because we've got enough with the sample, and let's go in with the A2. No increase attack now. No increased attack, but we had the crit damage, and we just hit a Bloodwind in Itwi for 8k. 8,000. 8k, 8,000. I don't know how else to say it. What was that, man? You're putting me to shame with that damage. A1? Okay. The A1 seems to do more damage than the A2, which is a bit crazy. Now let's find another team. Harima in here. I don't think we have any chance to deal with that team in any way whatsoever with him. I feel like this is gonna be a loss, but we're still gonna go in just so I can actually show it, you know. Look at that bolster. Okay, so they have a massive thick shield. We cannot strip the shield. We don't ignore the shield, so his damage is gonna be whack. But we can strip the other shield and the strengthen. Let's see. Wow. Now that was some serious stuff right there. But what's the good part is the decreased crit rate and crit damage on Harima. So now it's very likely for her to don't kill anyone, you know, at least for that turn. And it's gonna happen every single time we take a turn. Now, if they have immunity or anything like that, it's gonna be a different type of story. But there we go. It happens again. We got polymorphed, and that's what happens in the higher end Arena. So against a team like this, my god, we stand absolutely no chance. Let's put the tail between our legs and run away from here before we're getting more embarrassed. Now let's just look for a different team. Something a bit more juicy. Something that could potentially allow us to be better. And I feel like this team right here is the right example. You know what? I'm even gonna be nasty. I do think my Arbiter has all the gear, 397, not all the gear, but we are in a good spot. I don't think this guy is faster than me. Let's see. No, he's not. So we're gonna lock them with my Warlord, okay? And right now, we should be able to go in and deal some damage, okay? Let's see. A3. We killed Yumeko, which is good. It's good progress. We almost killed Mitrala too. But for whatever reason, Mitrala almost seems like she has no gear. So let's go on Taras there. We got a Termiter. We got a 8.9k hit. Very, very impressive. And now we are ready to go in and do some more serious damage with his A2. Ladies and gentlemen, are we ready? Again, on Taras, because Kaimar is saying no. 17k debuff spread, 20k, and we landed the debuffs from the passive, which is great. That's actually a very cool thing. I like the passive. It's a very, very solid passive, but that's about it. What I like about the champion, the passive. Let's see. Okay, we got him down. So now we can clean up. we won the fight. We won the fight. That's what matters. We're gonna do one more, guys, and call it here. Then I'm gonna show you the next build that I think is gonna be probably the best thing for him, or was gonna be probably the best thing for him a couple of years ago in Raid. So yes, guys, if I was gonna have this champion 2 years ago in Raid Shadow Legends, that's what I was gonna do with him when we had a resistance meta. Because guess what? I don't need a Lady Kimi, I don't need a Yoshi, or I don't need any other champion to come in and buff my increased accuracy on this champion. Because he's gonna be able to do it with his own passive. So then, having 700 accuracy on him, and yes, I have crit rate gloves on him, that's why I have these stats, will basically allow him to strip the buffs from everyone before attacking. And that damage will be considered just a bit of extra, you know what I mean? So, if you build this champion like this, you could get some value. Now, I can tell you, this meta, it doesn't exist in the game, so you don't really need to have such a high accuracy on a champion. Yes, every now and then you will find a resistance champion here and there, but he is not the answer to it. Now, how I mentioned a couple of years ago, this would have been an amazing thing for Arena. So let's just say we are looking for resistance teams, guys. And we have one right here, 500k power, and we have a resistance lead with the idea of I want to strip buffs. You might need an increased accuracy buff on your team, you know. Now with him, you don't bring in a Madame Series or a Mant or a different champion. You don't get the benefits of getting defense down, lock the passive, or weaken from Ryan the Conjurer, for example. You're just stripping buffs, and you will get a bit of damage if you can build a champion with crit rate and stuff. Now, nothing else from here will actually be amazing, you know, like my whole idea is that this will not be beneficial at all for anyone, but I just wanted to show you this just in case if any of you guys thought about it too and be like, well, I was gonna use this champion in this way, you know what I mean? So I'm gonna let him buff. I would expect them to have a lot of resistance because that's kind of like the goal of that team. But because we just got the increased accuracy, right now we have around 1000 accuracy, which is just crazy. No way they're gonna be able to resist it, you know? So we can strip all the buffs and get a bit of damage next to it. Now, it wasn't crazy damage or anything like that, but was pretty interesting. And their nuker will get decreased crit rate and decreased crit damage, which will put them in a very bad spot. Now we have Siphi and Rotos. Siphi cleanses the debuffs from Rotos, so it's a different story. But I feel like we might be able to play a bit the champion in live arena if you're going against teams that don't have much polymorph, you're very selective. He could have some sort of use, but not as the best damage dealer or anything like that, you know? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, guys. I just wanted to quickly make a final demonstration in here to show you a different thing with him. I do want to know your thoughts on the champion. If you pulled him as well, are you planning to use him or no? That was all for this video. Much love. Appreciate all of you guys watching, and I'll catch you all soon in the next one. Peace.